But first, amid all the hoo-ha surrounding January 26, we found an Australia Day protest that I reckon most of us could get behind. Last Friday, around 100 people gathered in northern New South Wales to protest the fact that they're not allowed to climb Mount Warning because they have the wrong skin colour. Now, people have been climbing Mount Warning since the mid-1880s, but about 4 years ago, the New South Wales government decided Mount Warning was a place of sacred ceremonies and prohibited anyone climbing it who is non-Indigenous. So a number of people on Friday morning decided to risk heavy fines and climb to the summit anyway. Now, can you believe this, Caleb? Security guards were actually placed at the bottom of the mountain to catch white people as they descended. Do you remember a while ago we were encouraged to change the national anthem to sing "We Are One and Free"? Tell me how you think that's working out for us.
Exceptionally well, isn't it? And I mean, it's so offensive to say that there are parts of this nation, natural parts of this nation, that should only be available to certain groups of people, right? It's not like we're talking about a constructed building, because often the comparison's been made, well, you know, you wouldn't let someone climb up your church, would you? Well, the church has been constructed. A mountain has been there since the beginning of time, long before any human being ever walked on this country or was even standing upright. It is a natural thing, and places in national parks should be open for all of us to use. But see, the problem here is twofold. You've got this claim that things like Mount Warning and Uluru, whatever, sacred places, so we can't climb on them. The environmentalists who don't want anyone going near anything in a national park, you so much as tread on a leaf in a national park, they'll throw a fit. They start using these claims for their own ends. It's not just about Mount Warning. It's not just about Uluru. It's ultimately about locking Australians out of their natural habitat. They don't want you going into any national park at all. Camping, gone. That's ultimately what they want. Don't touch anything.
Yeah.
Which is just ridiculous because it's there to be enjoyed.
I know.
Not to be trashed, but to be loved, cherished, respected by all of us and enjoyed. Otherwise, it can be stunning and gorgeous and heritage, whatever. Nobody's there to see it. Nobody's there to enjoy it. But get a load of this off the Australian government's website alone. What you're looking at is a map depicting native title claims here in Australia. The bright green, you'll notice there's a lot of it. The solid green is native title found to exist in the determination area, okay? So that's already settled native title. The shaded green is the external boundaries of claimant applications that have complied with the registration test. So that is on its way to becoming the bright green. And I don't know if you can even see it, but those tiny red bits on the map of Australia that you're looking at there, they are the only parts in which native title found not to exist in the determination area. What I'm saying here is that people, namely our government, have been carving up our nation for years now, using the Native Title Act, which has been around for 21 years now, and quietly just processing claims and siphoning off bits and pieces. Like you said, it's not just Uluru, it's not just Mount Warning, and half of it the average Australian doesn't even know about. It's already way out of hand, but as governments do, they do it clandestinely so that they know we'd be up in arms if we knew, but not enough people know. So I love seeing these little gatherings at Mount Warning and others. We need to see a heck of a lot more of it because these guys are carving up our nation right under our noses.
It'd be interesting if 100 people all ascended to the top of Mount Warning and then received fines that they refused to pay, whether a government would be brave enough to prosecute them. But I mean, to add insult to injury, last year, the New South Wales government was spending $7,000 a week on security guards to stand at the base of Mount Warning to stop people climbing. So you've got taxpayer money being used to stop taxpayers climbing a mountain that is meant to exist for all of us.
I think there is a warning from Mount Warning, is there not? And on your point, Liz, we were talking last week about a land council down in Victoria that wanted to take control essentially of what the Essential Services Commission does in its patch of Victoria, you know, have charge of water provision, have charge of electricity provision, have charge of roads, etc., etc. I mean, if this is what we're going to start talking about, you can't climb on that mountain because I've got some claim to it. You can't have that water because I've got some claim to it. You start creating separate nations. Now, if that's the road we want to go down, just be honest about it. Just say, yeah. We do actually want to carve up bits of the country for certain sections of people. If that's what you want to do, just be honest. Because they wouldn't be honest, as you say.
No.
Because imagine you couldn't get away with that, right? There'd be an uprising.
Well, there was another example of this in Victoria in the Grampians, a famous rock climbing spot which was shut down to everybody because of some artefacts that nobody knew about, that no one had seen until just yesterday.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's out of bounds to everybody. So it continues to happen.
Why can't it be that, sure, some place is in your history, this has some significance to you that it doesn't have to me? But it doesn't mean that I can't appreciate it for what it is. And it can't mean that we have sharesies going on. I mean, that is what Australia's all about. We all muck in, we all appreciate it. And I just respect the fact that clearly this means something to you that it doesn't to me, but it's no less beautiful. And I don't love it any less. And you certainly don't own it any more than I do.
You know what's funny about the Mount Warning situation is the government, after banning non-Indigenous people from climbing it, did suggest some places where you might stand and view the mountain from, which is pretty insulting. But I mean, I wanted to take my boys to Ayers Rock, and but then when it was closed to climbing, do I really want to spend all that money to fly all the way there to stand, look at it, and then go home?
You look up some pictures on the internet if you want to look at it. Right?
My dad took the boys in our family. They did Ayers Rock, obviously, before it was shut down to everyone. And it was a great boys' trip in the heart of Australia, checking out one of our national gems. They trekked it for days. What a time. And now no Australians can know that simple joy.
And we have all this natural beauty and wonder in this country, and people don't want us to enjoy it. There is no point in being there. The environmentalists say, oh, we can't destroy it. There's no point in being there. You could raise the whole bloody thing if no one gets to actually go and spend time in it and enjoy it. It's such an important part of being Australian. So many of us growing up went camping, spent time in national parks, climbed up mountains. That's what it's all about.